So 11,000 years ago, there was a land corridor in between those two glaciers, and we know, for example, that First Nations were living in the Charlie Lake caves, and there was, wildlife. They were successful hunters, vegetation, things like that were already happening 11,000 years ago. And with those two glaciers, this is a close-up, again, on the British Columbia side from the Soils Report in 1965, summarizing things. So the yellow are the glaciers that came from the continent. So huge masses of ice, bigger than we can imagine. When we see the Athabasca Glacier, on a holiday, that doesn't compare to what was happening here thousands of years ago. So these huge masses of ice slowly over thousands of years grinding their way across the Canadian Shield. Lots of granites and things like that, relatively nutrient poor, relatively acidic parent materials pushing this way. Then out of the Rocky Mountains, we have glaciers that are pushing out of the Rockies, which have a lot of limestone and calcium and magnesium rich soils pushing out, and again, meeting right around Fort St. John. So these two things met, and then they retreated. And almost like a dance, again, it's not A, B, and C. That continental glacier, the Laurentide ice sheet, came forward and back and forward and back several times. So if you took social dancing in high school, you know the idea about forward and back and meeting your partner. As those glaciers melted, a lot of water poured out of the Rockies. And in this image, but it took thousands of years for it to retreat. So you can see that big ice blob in the corner of that image. You can see the blue of these huge lakes. And these lakes were around for thousands of years. It wasn't a fast thing, it wasn't a one-time thing. And again, they were higher and lower depending on the timing.